Hello there, Bick Benedict here. We're playing Gears of War 4 on the Series X, and this is my insane difficulty guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Act 4-1. It is entitled Get Out. So this is a roughly 17-minute video. And the first fight you're going to be dealing with is a Snatcher Juvie combination. You might notice that I'm using the default weapons currently because I had a recording issue and I had to restart the chapter. Nothing stands out as particularly grueling on this section of the game. There is one fight at the end that's a little awkward, but if you can get if you have the long shot for that fight, it can be a little bit easier for you potentially. But you'd have to inherit the long shot from a previous stage because I think the only pickup for that particular long shot that I'm thinking about is after that fight. So get on the dozer here, hit the ore, and then this chapter has really good checkpoints too. Once you do get out of that scene, there's going to be juvies that come after you, and then once you get to the second side of the ore and you're pushing it off the side, there's going to be some drones, I think just drones, and one hunter. So you are going to get a checkpoint once you push the ore off the side over here, but what I would recommend before you do that, by the way, you can't get killed when you're on this thing, which is really nice. I like that a lot. I would recommend picking the getting off this thing, and then finding the area where the hunter went down, and then picking up his long shot. 5 rounds is pretty decent for a pickup. I think you can only get up to 6 for a pickup on Insane, but once you do get off this, you're going to be given a checkpoint, and then there's going to be another Snatcher that comes in here, and on his heels will be a bunch of juvies too. So there's a lot of room to run around in this area. But that quill that the Snatcher fires, it can find you regardless of a large room. So what I would recommend is to clear up as many of the juvies as you can before the Snatcher gets up here. And there's quite a lot of the juvies too. So you might even want to think about setting a grenade down if they're chasing you. Maybe help you clear up 1 or 2 of them. It's not necessary, but it looks like the Snatcher has already grabbed one of our teammates. And we do have Marcus on our team now, so we do have a 4-man team, even though one of the teammates is a woman. But you get what I mean. And I get killed more to the fire regurgitation attack that it has than to the quills, quite honestly. Because in the last video I mentioned that the fire goes through cover. I don't think it necessarily goes through cover, but it can go enough around cover and find you, even if it looks like you're in good cover. It can go around, and the splash from the fire when it lands, it just gets you. So you need to be careful of the quill too. Even when it doesn't look like the Snatcher is looking directly at you, it can be deceiving because he might have a perfect line of sight on you, and just because it's not looking directly at you doesn't mean you might not get killed from a direct attack of that weapon. So I am out of Lancer ammunition. You can carry 2 Lancers in this game if you get the right circumstance. If you can pull one of a different type of Lancer off of I'm not sure how it works because I don't use 2 Lancers. I think it's redundant. But there are situations where you can get 2 Lancers. You can look it up. I don't know the ins and outs of it because sometimes you have to make sure that if you're carrying a retro lance, I'm sorry, retro lancer. If you're carrying a custom, they need to find someone else with a lancer. But sometimes you just get the ammo. You don't necessarily pull a different weapon off of teammates. So you might want to equip the frag grenades over here. Even if you don't, it's not a big deal, because you can switch to the frag grenades before you spawn this nest. But this nest spawns really quick, and these enemies jump out of it really quick. That I don't know if it's possible to seal that nest without some of these enemies jumping out of it. And there's quite a lot of them too, and you're at an awkward angle over here because unless you are aiming and then pull yourself out of cover and keep holding trigger and use the nice aiming over the left shoulder out of cover trick that I employ often, you're just in a bad spot over here. You're in a safe spot, but not necessarily an ideal spot to be shooting the enemies. Although you want to fall back as much as you can anytime you see juvies popping out of these pods, because there's a lot of them that contain juvies, and at the far end you have two hunters. The only real use for them, this is a hammerburst guy over here. You're not going to see these hunters charge you because they're going to be digging in and giving you a problem. And I don't like when I get capture fails and have to restart a chapter when I've brought really good weapons that I like into a stage. But it does give you an appreciation for not having the ideal setup for your weapons all the time, and it does give you a little bit of humility as you try to adapt to what is being given out to you at any given time and what you start out with. Enemies on Insane are just tanky, and that's why I feel that Inconceivable, with the enemies having less HP, is a more relaxed type of experience, and it is touted as the hardest difficulty. But I don't think it's objectively the hardest difficulty. And what I mean by that is it is going to vary from individual to individual. So it is, I would say, it's subjectively the hardest difficulty, Inconceivable. But it really does come down to one's own feelings about, how they've modified that particular difficulty. And if you aren't aware about Inconceivable, you get less ammunition on the whole. Enemies have less HP, and you get damaged slightly faster. But if you're used to getting killed on Insane really quick, you're not going to be in for that much of a shock on Inconceivable, because they can't really kill you that much faster. A couple frames faster, but it's very difficult to perceive that sort of thing. When on Insane, you get killed so fast anyway, so you're not going to be in for a big shock about that. Anyway, I was trying to switch a weapon out, try to give myself some more ammo over here, but it looks like my father only had a hammerburst, so I definitely don't want that. So we're going to be backtracking in this area, and over there to the left, I forgot to even go over there and give myself a boom shot, even though I don't think I would take a boom shot, because you're likely only going to get 2 to 4 rounds with it, and it's just not as good as the torque bow, those pickups. So you should have a high amount of torque bow rounds, because you did have that hunter in the first fight with the snatcher, and then you had 2 drops of the torque bow on that previous fight we did with those 2 hunters that were dug in. And then after this, we'll have what is pretty awkward of a fight, because the area that I like to go into, it has no wall that you can go up against and withdraw from and aim around. A sort of it's a setup where you need to be aiming over the left shoulder for anything viable to happen with your hits. It's going to be right in that previous room we just left. So the spawn point is right over here, right about right there. And then you're going to spawn all the drones at first, as well as a snatcher. But the snatcher doesn't come down for about 15-20 seconds. So I'm trying to tag a couple of incendiaries to the floor over here, and it's not working. Really frustrating. Must have to do with the floorboards there. I'm not sure. But the snatcher always comes back over here if you're positioned over here. And don't worry about having used those incendiaries if you're worried about not having any more. But do you see this situation? Oh, because the reason for that is because there's another pickup for more incendiaries, which I think I already went into that room and got them. But if your teammates get grabbed over here, he has to walk a long way back where he came to give you a fail state. The only real thing that's a problem over here is that fire attack. It's really deceptive. He can't come in here. Obviously, it's too small for him to come in here. Sometimes he gets trapped behind cover and has a hard time getting out and just stands still for a long time, which is really nice. But it just has too much HP. I don't really like that. I think the boss had a decent amount for a boss, but I think these enemies that aren't not real bosses should have a little bit less HP. So you really need to be careful of that fire. Really need to be careful of it. But do you see how it would be nice if we can aim over our left shoulder and aim around this wall here? We might get some clipping or something as usual. But I think as far as the clipping is concerned in this game, when you're not in cover and you're aiming around walls, it was really strict on Gears of War 3 because I just went through Gears of War 3 and they really want you to be in cover, and they hardly ever give you a chance to aim around walls without significant clipping. But in this game, it feels like they and you know the snatcher's dead when the whole screen shakes like that. And then somebody's going to say we need to mop up these drones, and that's exactly what you need to do. But just be careful. Sometimes the drones will rush up here and go into the room over to the right. A long shot would be beautiful over here, but we don't have access to one right now. But as far as the clipping is a little bit more relaxed on this game. It's not so strict as it was in Gears of War 3. Sometimes you'll be aiming around walls and your reticle will be right. I'm sorry, your reticle will be red, but there will be an X in the middle of the reticle, meaning that what I presume it means is that yes, your reticle is over an enemy, but since you're going to be experiencing some clipping, it's going to not be hitting the enemy, even though it's red. And that's why there's an X on it. Or maybe it means you're going to be dealing them minimal damage. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean that. I'm pretty sure it means you're getting clipping, and that's why there's an X there. So just really be careful. Even these grenadiers, they can really nail you with their shotguns from far away. And it is unfortunate that because when you use a shotgun in this game, it doesn't do anything like that, killing somebody from really far away. But on the campaign, you definitely pay the price for it working the opposite way, where you can get significantly damaged from a shotgun at far away. And you also need to be careful because obviously, well, it might not be obvious to some, but the grenadiers are the ones that throw the grenades, and sometimes they can throw some real Hail Mary throws and get you when you don't think that they have enough range to do so. But I think the fight is over. We picked up a Retro Lancer in there, and on my Inconceivable walkthrough, I mentioned that there was a part up here where there were some juvies, but it didn't give you a checkpoint, so you had to be careful because you had to do that whole fight that we just did, plus the juvies over here. But I do believe that they give you a checkpoint. Here's a long shot, but how many does it give me? 4? Even though I don't want 4. I think they give you a checkpoint over here. So I just did this and I saw the checkpoint. Maybe not. Did you see a checkpoint, anyone? Because apparently these ones are on the same checkpoint as that big fight. Unless I missed it while I was talking, but we might see another checkpoint come up here. Yeah, maybe the checkpoint that I was thinking of is the one that's coming up over here, because I do know there's a checkpoint over here. There's going to be a hall down here. I know there's a checkpoint here. There it is. Okay, so it does appear until you get to that checkpoint right there, unless I missed another checkpoint coming up. You definitely want to come into this room and get more torque ammunition. Maybe even pick up some Boltox. There's more incendiaries. I like the Boltox for the power of it and the nice headshot capability that it has. And then as you leave this room, you're going to get attacked by more juvies, but you don't have to kill them. So you'll see them coming up over the railing over here. See that one? But you don't have to partake in that. You can just run right out of the room. You're going to get a checkpoint, and then we have this on-rails sequence over here that I think it has at least one, maybe two checkpoints to its name, and it's pretty fair. Not very frustrating. The only part that I had an issue on was post this first checkpoint right over here. We have a little bit more ascending to do. I don't think there's any shooting necessary over here, but once you do get this checkpoint over here, right here, I got juvies fell on me many times over here. Well, not many times, maybe 2 times, maybe 3 times, but you need to be shooting the webbing over here. There's 2 webbings over here, and then you need to shoot the webbing over here, or easier, just shoot the exploding tank right there and you get another checkpoint. I don't know how much you can press left or right on the analog to move away, to strafe back and forth when you're on the cable. I know you can here because you have to, but if you do have juvies falling on you and killing you in the previous part, don't worry about it too much, because you get a checkpoint right there, and the loading times in this game are hardly even loading times. It's like 1 second. It's absolutely fucking phenomenal the way they did that. I don't think I mentioned it in the Gears of War 3 guide that I did, but there were no improvements to the loading times in the Gears of War 3 Series X version, unless I'm mistaken. But they were pretty bad in the Gears of War 3 on Series X that I covered right before this walkthrough. Okay, so that has been the first chapter of Act 4. I will see you in the second, and until we see each other again, please continue to take care.